Here in historic Picton, this is the 2020 Kia Stinger. The thing about Picton is that it's historic. This barn right next to me, 1810. Some cows escaped from the farm, the first settlers at Farm Cove, and when they caught up with them, by the time they did, they were here in Picton. And they said, well, why not just graze them here? The cows knew better. They knew that they could find a place to graze. They knew that there was somewhere outside what was settling to be Sydney. This barn, built in 1810, was the first building in Picton, the first building in the area, in fact. The pub dates to 1834. But now, let's move on to the car. You'd be forgiven for thinking this is an Audi, because the man that designed it, Peter Schreyer, used to design for Audi. So it's no coincidence that this has a touch of the A5 about it. There's the distinctive Schreyer grille, and this solid bit in the middle is where the radar is for the radar cruise control. Yes, this car has radar cruise control. And how's that for a cool number plate? Once upon a time, the Kia badge wasn't exactly known as one that was related to quality. But that Kia has been replaced by Kia. And they're renowned for really good cars at a really good price with lots of stuff in them. Some of the design features that have made this car distinctive are the vents. Here in the side, sure, the ones on the bonnet are fake, but they look awesome. And there are other features you might not notice, like the line across the top of the windscreen, which curves down gently in the middle. That's just a really nice touch, and it's something you almost never see. There's sensors for the auto wipers and the camera for the autonomous emergency braking. Then you move along the side of this slinky, low-set, low-cut, low-slung Gran Turismo, and it is a Gran Turismo, but more about that later. There's other little inclusions, like the smart entry. You push to lock and unlock the car, which along with push-button start means the key need never leave your bag. But this car has more. There's a beautiful line along the side that looks a little bit like a low-slung coupe. It kicks up here at the back, and the roof slopes gently down over this. And this is the party trick. This is a hatch. There's plenty of room in the back, and the seats go down in a 60-40 split. Excuse all the rubbish I've got in back. The parcel shelf is absolutely enormous because this is an executive hatch. But I think the lights look particularly striking. But Kia's most striking feature is probably this Eye of Isis reflector along the side of the car. Finally, on this base model are 18-inch wheels, which do look a little bit lost in this wheel arch. The next model up has 19-inch wheels. There's 4 models in all. There's 2 with this 4-cylinder turbo engine and 2 with the V6 twin turbo. But I think one of the most beautiful features on this car are the gentle curves down the side of the door. The back, as you may guess, ouch, is snug. And every time I get into this car, I knock my head on that. That really hurt. But once inside, it's a really nice place to be. There's some mat pockets on the back of the seats, and there's plenty of room with the seat set for me. Also in the back, there's a temperature control for air conditioning, 2 outlets, and a 12-volt outlet plus a USB charger. Despite the fact that this isn't the top model, I think the seats look pretty nice. I'd like to film with you out there, but I've just started the accessories so that you can see what the screens look like, but it's donging at me. Every car made for America insists on donging madly because it doesn't know you've turned the accessories on and you've got the door open, even though you can see you've pressed the button to turn accessories on and you've opened the door. So I'm gonna have to, oh, shut up! Oh, for God's sake, be quiet! So I've started the engine now, and it switched to a different ding because it didn't know that I'd actually meant to turn the car on. With the engine running, you can see the part digital dash now has the warning on, and once I close the door, that changes to a digital speedo, where you can have any number of things displayed. Either side are analog instruments, which I think is kind of disappointing. The thing I particularly like about the buttons is that the buttons for the audio controls and the cruise control and phone, etc. are all backlit, so you can see these easily at night. The door has lots of piano black and the obligatory buttons, and these buttons have a really nice feel about them. There's also a nice stitch detail in this soft feel fabric on the doors. The hard plastic on top is also fairly soft. Although the 200S has a rather nice sounding audio system, remember this is the base model that retails at $50,490 or thereabouts on the road. So that's a drive away price. The 7-inch screen on this model is upgraded to an 8-inch screen on the next models up. All of them have these kind of really cool aircraft style vents. Along the bottom are some one-touch buttons for audio control, and underneath that are the dual climate controls, which has an automatic mode and can be synced. Pressing the climate button brings up the climate controls on the main system. The rest of the cabin has a really classy look. The rest of the console is beautifully laid out with dual cup holders, a smart gear selector, the drive mode control, and the park button. The drive mode control affects the steering and throttle, but not the suspension. On this particular model, suspension is fixed. Why don't we get it out on the road? The bongs in this car drive me absolutely bananas. My erstwhile colleagues were very unkind about the 4-cylinder. With the fire-breathing 6-cylinder getting to 100 kilometers an hour in under 6 seconds, it made the 4-cylinder look a little bit meek and mild. But the 4-cylinder is not meek and mild. With 183 kilowatts, it's got as much power, almost, as the previous model Holden 6-cylinder. And considering this is a 4-cylinder turbo, I think that's more than enough to be going on with. The good thing about the transmission is the 8-speed auto is so super smooth. As I mentioned, it does have a sport mode, but most of the time you don't need it. And what the automatic will try and do is to get into top gear or the highest possible gear as quickly as possible. And it does that for several reasons, the most important one being fuel economy. The suspension on the 200S on this base model is fixed, but it's been fettled by Graham Gambold. He's a bloke in Melbourne that can wave his hands over things and make things magic, make them happen. And he takes a car that handles okay and makes it handle brilliantly. Now, we had these cars on the track at the launch a little while ago. Here's what we thought. Yes, I screamed. I screamed a lot. Well, I screamed. Cody Crocker, my co-driver, is a rally champ and kind of is a bit more used to that stuff than me. I tried not to look like too much of an ass, but I'm afraid I did not succeed. Now we're up to speed. The ride is just amazing. It is smooth. And in fact, most of us on the day of the launch preferred the static suspension models, the ones that don't automatically adjust, to the fancy, expensive, automatically adjusting suspended models, which also adjusts when you fiddle with the sports controls. But the steering is delightful. It is absolutely delightful. And the thing is, this road is a little bit bumpy, but the car goes over it like this. It's connected to the road. It feels like it's part of the road. And you feel like you're part of the car. This model misses out on blind spot monitoring, but it doesn't miss out on autonomous emergency brake, which means that Kia's given these cars a 5-star safety rating with ANCAP. One of the things that it does get though is active lane control. And there's a button just down by the steering wheel. I find in this it is a little bit intrusive. And I did turn it off much of the time. But out on the highway, it's a different kettle of fish. The good thing about being a Korean car, of course, is that the indicators are on the correct side, the right side. So the right side is the right side. As you go around corners, you feel like Stinger really sticks to the road. And a lot of cars do that, but to get handling like this, you really have to spend a lot more if you're going to buy a European car. And that's the point. I've often said about Kia, I don't know how they do it for the price. Although 50,000 is a lot of shekels to pay for a car, what else are you going to get with this kind of performance, this kind of style, these kind of inclusions, and this kind of comfort? If you want a European, to get a car this size, you're going to be paying double, if not triple. This is about Audi A6 size. That's it. That's your lot for this week. Kia Stinger. I think this is one of the most beautiful cars on the road. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and as always, press just down there to subscribe.